Welcome, sleepy soul. I'm your storyteller tonight, here to help you drift into deep, peaceful sleep. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that. 2. Story 1. The strange hotel worker. I never thought the happiest trip of my life would turn into something that still scares me at night. When people ask me what the scariest moment of my job was, they think it would be about a fight or a house fire gone wrong. They think being a police officer and a volunteer firefighter means I've seen everything, and I have blood, fire, crazy stuff. But nothing was as scary as what happened on my honeymoon. It started like a wonderful dream. After 2 years of planning, working lots of extra hours, and getting engaged, Melissa and I finally got married in late June. The wedding was everything we wanted. Small, close, just family and a few good friends. By the end of that night, I couldn't stop looking at her. She was perfect in that dress. Perfect in the way she laughed with my mum. Perfect in how she took fries off my plate during the party like she always did. Our honeymoon was supposed to help us relax after years of stress, debt and late night work. Melissa had picked where we would go, a quiet beach town in northern Brazil, far from the crowded tourist places. It was sold as where love meets paradise. The photos online made us want to go right away. White beaches, blue water, a nice hotel with private balconies looking out at the ocean. The name was Villa Merrill. I can still remember the smell when we got there. Salt air mixed with flowers, something sweet that I didn't know. The lobby was old style but nice, with wooden beams and warm lights. Melissa squeezed my hand as we checked in, almost jumping with excitement. Daniel Brooks, the woman at the desk, asked. Her Portuguese had an accent that made even my name sound exotic. Yes, I said. And this is my wife, Melissa. The word wife still felt new in my mouth, and it made me smile like crazy. Congratulations, the clerk said warmly. Welcome to Villa Merrill. You have the honeymoon suite. Melissa's cheeks turned pink, and she nudged me playfully. Hear that, Mr. Brooks? Fancy. We laughed, and everything felt perfect. If someone had told me then that in less than 48 hours I'd be holding Melissa in a dark room, unable to move while a stranger stood at the foot of our bed, I would have thought they were crazy. The first day was everything we wanted. We went to the beach, drank fruity drinks that tasted like sunshine, and let the waves take away our stress. Melissa wore this simple white sundress that made every guy on the beach look at her. But I didn't care. I was proud. She was mine and I was hers. That night, we decided to check out the hotel bar after dinner. It wasn't big, just a shiny wooden counter with a row of stools and a few small tables. There were only a few guests, most of them older couples. Behind the bar was a man who looked out of place, not because he wasn't good looking, if anything. He had that rough, weathered look some women like. Maybe mid-30s, strong jawline, dark hair tied back loosely. But something about him felt sharp, like a knife hidden in a drawer of spoons. His name tag read Raphael B. Welcome, he said as we sat down. What can I get for you? Melissa smiled politely. What do you suggest? His eyes stayed on her longer than they should have. For you, he sighed in perfect English. A caipirinha. Sweet, refreshing. Sounds great, she said. And for you, he asked, finally looking at me. Whiskey neat, I replied. He nodded and turned away. I tried to shake off the weird feeling, but something about the way he looked at her made my jaw tight. Melissa didn't notice. She was looking through photos on her phone, humming softly. When Raphael came back, he set Melissa's drink down first. His fingers touched hers. Not a normal accident, but slow, on purpose. Melissa didn't react beyond a polite smile, but I noticed. "Thanks," I said curtly as he handed me mine. "Enjoy," Raphael whispered, his eyes still on her. We drank and talked about the day, but my mind wasn't on it. I kept catching Raphael watching her, not just looking, staring like he was trying to remember her. Every time Melissa laughed at something I said, his jaw got tight just a little. I leaned closer to her. "You noticed the bartender?" She frowned. "What about him? He's watching you." Melissa looked over, then back at me with a shrug. "Maybe he's bored. There's hardly anyone here." "Yeah, maybe," I said, though I didn't believe it. When she finished her drink, Melissa waved him over for another. As he made it, I swear I heard him breathing harder, rough almost. His hand shook as he crushed the lime. When he set the glass down, I decided to make it clear. "Hey," I said flatly, "does my wife have something on her face?" Slowly, Raphael's eyes moved from her to me. For a few seconds, he just stared. No blink, no smile. Then he turned without a word and walked away. Melissa touched my arm. "Daniel, don't. Please. I don't like the way he's looking at you." "Then let's go," she said softly. We headed back to our room. My stomach felt sick the whole way. I locked the door, checked it twice, and tried to forget about it. We were both tipsy, and finally, tiredness won. Melissa curled against me, her breath warm on my neck. I fell asleep to the sound of waves crashing against the shore outside our balcony. I awoke to darkness. The moonlight from the balcony cast a faint silver glow across the room. I rolled onto my back and looked at the clock on the nightstand. 4:03 a.m. usually, after a few drinks. I sleep like a rock. So, why was I awake? Then I saw him. A dark shape at the foot of our bed, not moving. It didn't seem real at first. My brain fought it, tried to explain it away. A shadow, a trick of the light. But then the shape moved slightly, and the pale moonlight caught the edge of a face. Raphael, my blood turned to ice. He was inside our room. I tried to move, to reach for anything. A lamp, my phone, but my body wouldn't work. It was like every muscle had locked up. Fear clawed at my chest. He wasn't looking at Melissa this time. He was looking at me. His right hand twitched at his side. In his left, he held something I couldn't see clearly. Metal shining faintly in the dark. I wanted to scream to wake her, but before I could, I heard Melissa stir. She opened her eyes, saw him, and froze. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Her lips opened, but no sound came out. I forced my throat to work. What do you want?" I croaked. Raphael didn't answer. His head tilted slightly, eyes shining in the dark. Then, slowly, he stepped forward. My heart beat so hard I thought my head would split. When he reached my side of the bed, he set something on the nightstand with a soft clink. A glass. "You forgot your drink," he whispered. His voice was low, calm to calm. Then he turned and walked out. For a moment, I couldn't move. Then adrenaline crashed through me. I jumped up, slammed the door shut, and turned on every light. The glass sat on the nightstand, water drops sliding down its sides. Melissa was shaking badly. I grabbed her and held her while she cried. Security searched the hotel. Raphael was gone. His uniform, his things, everything left behind. It was like he disappeared into the night. The manager said sorry over and over, promised they were going to fire him for strange behavior, but no one ever found him. To this day, I don't know what he wanted, why he left that glass, why he didn't hurt us when he had the chance. But sometimes when I wake up at night, I swear I feel eyes on me, and I wonder if someday Raphael will finish what he started. #, Story 2. The wrong choice, sigh. Never thought my honeymoon would turn into a nightmare that people would whisper about for years. When I imagined this part of my life, I pictured soft waves rolling onto white sand, champagne glasses clinking under a golden sunset, and long, slow mornings wrapped in each other's arms. Every love story tells you that your wedding day is the happiest day of your life. They never tell you what happens if you choose the wrong person to marry. My name is Maya, and a little over 2 months ago, I married Aaron Bennett, the man I believed was my soulmate. Aaron and I met in one of those ways that feel almost like a movie. It was late spring, and I had run into a small coffee shop after a terrible work meeting. I was tired, angry, and trying to carry my laptop bag and a cup of coffee when the lid slipped. I remember the splash, the sting of heat, and then his voice. "Whoa. Careful there." He caught my arm, helping me steady before the cup completely tipped. I looked up, and he smiled with the kind of warmth that melts walls. His green eyes had this strength to them, like he was memorizing my face. We talked for 2 hours that day. It felt easy, natural, like we'd known each other for years. Within a week, we couldn't be apart. He said things like, "You're everything." I didn't know I was looking for. And for the first time in years, I believed someone truly saw me. So when he asked me to marry him, just 3 months later, under a sky painted orange and pink, I said yes without thinking twice. Everyone said it was too fast, but love makes you deaf to smart thinking. Our wedding was small, just close friends and family. When I walked down that aisle, my heart almost burst. Aaron looked perfect in his charcoal suit, and when he said I thought the world stopped. But looking back now, there were signs. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. His hands were sweaty. When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," he brushed his lips against mine quickly, almost like he was embarrassed. I laughed it off, telling myself he hated showing love in public. The real worry began when he changed our honeymoon plans. We had been planning for Hawaii. I even bought swimsuits and sundresses for it. But the night of the wedding, Aaron leaned close and whispered, "Baby, slight change of plans. We're not going to Hawaii anymore." "What? Why?" I asked, half laughing, thinking he was joking. "Something came up," he said, his voice tight. "But trust me, this will be better. Once in a lifetime stuff." I asked for answers, but he just kissed my forehead and said, "You'll love it, I promise." The next morning, instead of getting on a plane to Honolulu, we were sitting at JFK Airport holding tickets to Naples, Italy. "Italy," I blurted. "Aaron, how? When? Why didn't you tell me?" He smiled. That same quick, tight smile. Wanted it to be a surprise. "You like surprises, right?" Something in his voice didn't feel playful, but Italy sounded romantic, and I wanted to believe in us. So I pushed the worry down and got on that plane. The flight was long. I slept most of the way, waking only when Aaron nudged me gently as the wheels hit the runway. Outside, Naples shimmered in the afternoon sun, its streets alive with scooters and voices. I reached for Erin's hand as we walked toward baggage claim, but he pulled away. "You're making this harder for me," he muttered under his breath. I stopped. "Making what harder?" He didn't answer. He just kept walking. By the time we reached the exit, a black Mercedes limousine was waiting. Two men in suits stood by it, sunglasses hiding their eyes. "Wow," I said, trying to sound excited. "You really went all out, huh?" Erin didn't reply. One of the men opened the door. "Signora Bennett," he said in a thick Italian accent. "Prego." The air in that car was heavy, choking. The men spoke rapidly in Italian. I caught a few words. Ragazza, which I remembered meant girl. I told myself it was nothing. Erin sat stiff beside me, staring out the window. "Where are we going?" I asked softly. "You'll see," he whispered. His voice was flat. We drove for almost an hour, leaving the chaos of the city behind. The roads wound through hills lined with cypress trees. Finally, we pulled up to a huge villa. It looked like something out of a dream. Stone walls, cascading flowers, a fountain sparkling in the courtyard. "Oh my God," I whispered. "Erin, this is beautiful." He forced a smile. "Yeah, beautiful." The man led us inside. The air smelled of lemon and polished wood. For a brief second, I let myself believe maybe I'd been worried for nothing. Maybe this was just some big romantic gesture. Then a voice boomed from the staircase. "Ah, finalmente." A short, stocky man came down, followed by two more men. He wore a perfect white suit, a gold chain shining against his chest. His smile was warm, but his eyes were cold. "Welcome to my home," he said, his accent thick, but his English smooth. "Mr. Bennett and Bellissima." His gaze slid to me. Erin's hand twitched at his side. "This is her," he said. "Her." My stomach turned. The man came closer, slowly, like a cat circling prey. He took my hand and kissed it lightly. "Such beauty. You will do nicely." "What the hell is going on?" I demanded, pulling my hand back. The man chuckled. "Ah, you did not tell her." He looked at Erin. TSK. Tell me what?" My voice shook. Erin swallowed hard. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Maya, I had to. They were going to kill me. This was the only way. "What are you talking about?" The short man clapped his hands, amused. "Your husband came to me. He wanted wealth, power, to join my famiglia." I said, "Bring me something precious. Bring me the woman you love." And he did. The room tilted. I couldn't breathe. "Erin, tell me he's lying." Erin finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes wasn't love, it was giving up. "I'm sorry," he whispered. The man's smile widened. "Troppo di bol," he said in Italian. Then, without warning, he pulled a gun from his jacket and bang. Erin fell, blood pooling beneath his head. I screamed so loud my throat tore. The man stepped over Erin's body like it was nothing. He wiped the gun on a handkerchief, then turned to me with a calm smile. "Do not cry, Bella. He betrayed you. A man like that does not deserve your tears." He reached out and lifted my chin. "You are mine now." I stumbled back, shaking my head. No, you can't." He snapped his fingers. The guards closed in, their faces like stone. The man's voice was soft, almost tender. "Welcome to your new life, Maya." And as they dragged me down a long, dim hallway, past doors that hid God knows what, I realized something chilling. The honeymoon wasn't the beginning of my happily ever after. It was the end. Story 3. The flight from Hawaii. Always thought our honeymoon would be the happiest trip of our lives. It was supposed to be a perfect escape, a week away from work, bills, and the chaos of planning a wedding. After 6 months of stressful preparations, arguments about table placements, and last-minute guest list changes, we finally made it. Just Kyle and me, married for exactly 9 days, ready to fly out of Chicago to spend our first real adventure together. In Kansas City, it wasn't Paris, it wasn't Hawaii, but it was ours. A quiet city, good food, jazz, art museums. We didn't want flashy, we wanted peaceful. At least that's what we thought. Kyle, hurry up. We're going to miss the flight, I hissed, weaving through the crowd as the boarding call blared overhead. Final boarding call for passengers Kyle and Aria Sloan, booked on flight 481 to Kansas City. Please proceed to gate 7 immediately. Kyle stumbled behind me, pulling the carry-on with one hand and holding my oversized tote bag in the other. I'm trying, okay. These shoes are not made for sprinting, he panted. Then why wear them? You said you like how I look in them. I stopped dead for half a second and glared. I like you alive more than stylish. He smirked through his tiredness. So you admit I look good, Kyle, I swear. We finally reached gate 7, flushed and out of breath. The attendant scanned our passes with a polite but tight smile, clearly annoyed we were the last aboard. Seats are together, Kyle asked nervously as we stepped into the narrow aisle. Yes, I said, checking our tickets. Row 22, middle and window. Great. That meant someone was in the aisle seat. As soon as we sat down, I could feel eyes on me. That prickling feeling on the back of your neck, the kind that makes your stomach tight. I brushed it off, telling myself it was just nerves from the rush. Then I heard him. Lucky guy, a low male voice said from behind us, almost a whisper, but just loud enough for Kyle to hear. How'd a dude like you land a wife like that? Kyle froze. His grip on the armrest got tight. I turned my head slightly. The man behind us had a crooked smile, stubble covering his jaw, and creepy, sharp blue eyes. He looked amused. Excuse me, Kyle said flatly. You heard me, the stranger said, grinning wider. Beautiful girl like her, and ... you. He gave Kyle a slow once-over. Guess confidence really does work. I shot Kyle a warning look. Ignore him, but Kyle's temper was building. Do you mind not talking to my wife like that? The guy chuckled, leaning forward slightly. Touchy. I was just giving a compliment. Kyle's jaw clenched. Stay in your seat. Sure, the man said, sitting back. But his smirk didn't fade. I tried to laugh it off, resting my head against the window. Let it go, Kyle, please, it's not worth it. He nodded, but his leg bounced nervously. An hour into the flight, the stranger started again. Hey, sweetheart, he whispered, his voice snaking between the headrests. What's your name? I ignored him. Kyle turned halfway in his seat. You talk to her again, and I swear. What? The man's grin widened. You'll fight me right here in front. Of all these people, that'd be fun. I pressed my hand on Kyle's knee. Don't, please. The flight attendant passed by. Kyle quickly flagged her down. This man is harassing my wife. Can we switch seats? She looked sorry, but helpless. I'm so sorry, sir. The flight is full. I'll have a word with him, though. She leaned toward the stranger. Sir, Please respect the other passenger's privacy. Of course, he said with fake politeness, just making conversation. But the moment she walked away, he whispered again, so low I barely heard. I'm going to remember that tone. Something in my chest tightened. We hit bumpy air for the last 30 minutes. I closed my eyes, gripping Kyle's hand as the plane shook. When we finally landed, relief washed over me. Thank God, I muttered as we stood to grab our bags. The man hadn't said a word since the bumpy air started. I didn't even look back. We just wanted out. As we walked through the terminal, Kyle muttered, "Do you see him?" "No, good. Let's just grab our luggage and go." But Kansas City's small airport made it easy for people to hang around. I saw him near baggage claim, just standing, watching us. "Kyle," I whispered, clutching his arm. "He's here. Stay close," he said. We grabbed our suitcase and headed for the exit as fast as we could. By the time we reached the taxi stand, he was gone. Or so we thought. Our hotel was gorgeous. Warm lighting, soft jazz in the lobby, and a view of downtown from our 12th floor room. For a while, everything felt normal again. We showered, ordered room service, and laughed about wedding memories. Then, around midnight, there was a knock. Not a casual knock. A slow, careful one. Kyle froze. "You ordered something?" "No." My voice trembled. He peeked through the peephole. No one. Another knock, this time from the connecting door to the next room. Kyle put a chair against it. "Someone's messing with us," he muttered. Then my phone buzzed. "Unknown number, unknown. Nice view from your room." My blood ran cold. I pulled the curtains. Shut so fast I nearly ripped them down. Kyle dialed the front desk. "This is room 1208. Who's in 1209? The clerk hesitated. "Sir, that room isn't occupied." The knock came again, louder. Kyle grabbed the hotel phone. "Call security now." The line went dead, and then, from the other side of the door came his voice. "Open up, lovebirds. We're not done yet, Kyle." My voice was barely a whisper as the knocking grew louder, heavier, each thud shaking through the thin hotel walls like a heartbeat. "Arya, get in the bathroom, lock the door." His voice was low but firm, the kind of tone that said, "Don't argue. I'm not leaving you." Now, I ran, slamming the bathroom door behind me and twisting the lock until my hand hurt. My breath came in short bursts, my heart beating so loud it drowned out everything for a moment. Then I heard it, the scrape of metal, like someone dragging something sharp across the connecting door. Kyle's voice came through, muffled but shaking. "What the hell do you want?" The man's reply sent ice through my veins. "You ruined my fun on the flight, Kyle. Thought you could embarrass me in front of her." His voice dropped, almost a growl. "Now I'm going to show her what a real man looks like." I clamped a hand over my mouth to stop the scream rising in my throat. Kyle shouted back, "I'm calling the police." The stranger laughed, a deep, crazy sound that didn't belong in a place like this. "You think they'll get here in time?" Something slammed hard. The connecting door shook on its hinges, then silence. No voice, no knocks, no scraping. I pressed my ear against the bathroom door, every muscle tight. "Kyle," I whispered. No answer. Panic clawed at my throat. "Kyle," still nothing. I twisted the lock and cracked the door open an inch. The bedroom was dim, lit only by the city glow filtering through the curtains. The chair was still pressed against the connecting door, and Kyle was gone. The air felt heavy, thick, like the room itself was holding its breath. "Kyle," I whispered again, stepping out. My bare feet sank into the carpet, soft and soundless. Then I saw it, his phone on the nightstand, and written across the mirror in something dark. Thick strokes smeared across the glass were 3 words: "Come, find me." My stomach lurched. It looked like blood. I grabbed Kyle's phone with shaking hands, dialing 911 so fast I almost dropped it. "911, what's your emergency?" "My husband. Someone took my husband. Room 1208 at the ... My voice cracked as I gave the hotel name and floor. "Please send someone. He's gone. There's blood." The line clicked, dead. No static, no call failed. Just gone, and then Kyle's phone buzzed in my hand. "Unknown number, miss me already." I stumbled backward, my breath coming in shallow gasps. My eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. The text came again. "Want to see him? Come alone. No cops. Parking garage level 3.5 minutes. Another message followed before I could react. "If you're late, I'll send you a piece of him." My body moved before my brain could catch up. I yanked on my jacket, shoved my phone in my pocket, and ran. The hallway was eerily empty, the patterned carpet stretching endlessly under harsh fluorescent lights. Every sound echoed, the hum of vending machines, the ding of an elevator far away. I pressed the elevator button, my hand slick with sweat. When the doors opened, I jumped inside and slammed the button. The elevator music was soft jazz, calm and cheerful, like some sick joke. When the doors opened into the parking garage, the chill hit me first. The air smelled of oil and damp concrete. My footsteps echoed as I made my way to level 3. Every instinct screamed to turn back, to run, to the lobby, to find help. But Kyle. Then I saw him, at least I thought I did. A shadow at the far end, tall and still. "Kyle." My voice cracked, echoing through the empty space. The figure didn't move. I stepped closer. That's when I saw the rope in his hands. I froze. It wasn't Kyle. It was him, the man from the plane. His grin stretched unnaturally wide under the flickering garage light. "Hi, sweetheart," he said, his voice soft but cutting through the silence. "You made it. Where is he?" I demanded, my voice shaking. He tilted his head like a curious dog. "You really love him, huh? Where is he?" He chuckled, tossing the rope aside. "He was fun for a while, put up a fight, but then ... He raised his hand, showing me something small and metallic. Kyle's wedding band. My knees almost gave out. "No." He stepped closer, slow and careful, his boots clicking against the concrete. "Don't cry," he said mockingly. "You'll ruin that pretty face." I backed away, my heart pounding like it wanted out of my chest. That's when I saw the door to the stairwell behind him. "If I could just ... He lunged. I didn't think. I grabbed the first thing my hand touched, a broken piece of a car antenna lying on the floor, and swung with everything I had. The metal cracked against his arm. He cursed, grabbing for me, but I twisted free and ran. The stairwell door slammed. Behind me, the echo bouncing like gunfire down the concrete shaft. I ran, my lungs burned. My legs felt like lead. I could hear him behind me, heavy boots pounding, his breath rough but eager, like this was a game and he was winning. 3 flights down, my foot slipped. I crashed against the railing, pain shooting up my arm, but I kept moving. Finally, the lobby door. I slammed into it, bursting into the warm light of the hotel entrance, screaming, "Help! Somebody help me!" 2 security guards turned. One grabbed his radio. The other sprinted toward me. "He's in the stairs, level 2. He's got my husband," I sobbed. They charged in. They found him, but not Kyle. Just a smear of blood on the stair railing. A trail that led nowhere. No sign of the man. No sign of my husband. Police swarmed the building. Cameras showed us getting off the elevator together. Then static, nothing after, like the footage had been wiped clean. I told them everything. The flight, the texts, the knocks. But when they checked the system logs, no record of those messages, no unknown calls, nothing. And here's the part that still makes me wake up screaming. The connecting door, the one he was pounding on. Maintenance swears it's been sealed for years. There was never a room 1209. ## story 4. Mountain nightmare. I always thought honeymoons were supposed to be the happiest time of your life. That's what everyone told me. That's what all the magazines promised. What every cheesy movie showed. Newlyweds sipping cocktails on sandy beaches, holding hands as the sun melted into the ocean. My reality was different. When Ethan and I got married, it felt like everything finally fell into place. We dated for 4 years, survived long distance while he worked out of state, and finally tied the knot in a small ceremony in Texas. Nothing fancy, just friends, family, and a rented barn, strung with fairy lights. People said we were the perfect couple. I believed them. Ethan wasn't the most romantic man alive, but he was steady, dependable, the type who always paid bills on time and made lists for everything. After years of messy breakups and heartbreak, that reliability felt like a blessing. Our honeymoon was his idea. "You deserve something special," he said one night, pulling brochures from a drawer. "How about Denver? Then we drive through the mountains, quiet, scenic." I'd always pictured something tropical, but I didn't argue. Ethan hated beaches, and honestly, the photos he showed me, the towering Rockies, crystal lakes, little cabins, tucked away in pine forests, looked peaceful. I thought, what could possibly go wrong in the mountains? We landed in Denver late afternoon. The sun dipped low, turning the city gold. Ethan rented a silver SUV and loaded our luggage into the back while I scrolled through my phone, updating my Instagram with a photo of us at the airport, captioned, "First day of forever begins now. Honeymoon vibes." Ethan wasn't much for social media. He hated when I posted couple photos. I asked him once why, and he shrugged. "I just like privacy." That night, we stayed in a nice hotel downtown. Dinner was fancy Italian, the kind where the plates were too small and the wine list too long. He ordered for me like he always did. Steak for him, seafood for me. "You excited for tomorrow?" he asked over dessert. "Definitely. Can't wait to see those mountains." His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, but I brushed it off. He was tired from the flight, I told myself. Morning came with crisp air and pale sunlight. We grabbed coffee, checked out, and hit the road. The mountains rose in the distance like jagged teeth. As we drove deeper into the wilderness, cell service faded. The road narrowed to a single lane, snaking between pines. Every so often, I'd spot a sign. "No gas, next 50 miles. "Feels like the middle of nowhere," I said, half joking. "That's the point," he grinned, eyes fixed on the road. Hours later, we stopped at a diner, a short building with peeling paint and a flickering neon sign. "Eat," the kind of place that smelled like burnt coffee and fried bacon. I excused myself to the bathroom while Ethan ordered. On my way back, I noticed a man staring from a corner booth. Mid-40s, scruffy beard, wearing a faded baseball cap. His gaze slid over me like oil. Slow, careful. When I sat down, Ethan asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I lied, forcing a smile. We finished lunch quickly. As we left, I glanced back and saw the man still watching. By late afternoon, we reached the cabin. Ethan had booked a rustic A-frame perched on a hill, surrounded by endless forest. No neighbors, no noise except wind through trees. "It's beautiful," I said, stepping inside. The interior smelled of cedar and dust. There was a stone fireplace, a couch draped in plaid blankets, and a spiral staircase leading to the loft bedroom. Outside, a wooden deck overlooked a steep ravine. While I unpacked, Ethan checked his phone, frowning. "No signal," he muttered. "Figures, that's okay. We're supposed to unplug, right?" I teased, but something in his expression lingered. A tension I couldn't name. We cooked pasta, opened a bottle of wine. For a while, it felt normal. We laughed, played cards by the fire. Later, curled up in bed, I drifted off to the sound of wind scraping branches against the cabin walls. Then came the noise, a soft creak like a floorboard shifting under weight. I sat up, heart thudding. "Ethan," he stirred. Beside me. "What is it?" I heard something outside. He listened. Silence, except for the wind. "Probably an animal," he said, pulling me close. "Go back to sleep." But I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Horror stories in simple English the next morning. I saw fresh boot prints in the dirt near our deck. They were too big to be mine and too heavy for Ethan's sneakers. "Were you outside last night?" I asked him. "Number Y." I showed him the prints. He looked at them and then moved his shoulders up and down. "It must have been the old groundskeeper. These places always have someone who checks the property lines." That didn't feel right to me. We hadn't seen anyone for miles. Later, while Ethan was chopping wood behind the house, I went inside and looked through the guest book on the coffee table. The last person who wrote in it was almost 6 months ago. No one wrote about a groundskeeper. That's when I saw the same man from the diner. He was standing at the edge of the trees, half hidden in the shadows, just staring at our cabin. My stomach felt sick. "Ethan," I yelled. By the time he came running, the man was gone. That night, I begged Ethan to leave. "I don't feel safe here. Please, can we just go back to Denver?" He took a deep breath and rubbed his head. "Holly, you're getting too worried about nothing. We're in the mountains. People hike. They walk around." "But he was watching us from the woods," I said. His jaw got tight. I said, "Drop it." Something about how he said it made me feel cold. Hours later, I woke up to the sound of voices. They were quiet, male voices coming from outside. I snuck to the window and saw Ethan on the deck, talking to someone, the man from the diner. Before I could do anything, the door burst open. Hands grabbed me. They were rough and hard. A cloth hit my mouth, choking me with bad-smelling chemicals. Everything went dark. I woke up in the back of a truck. My hands were tied with tape, and my head hurt badly. Through the fog in my brain, I saw 2 people in the front seats. Ethan was driving, and the stranger was sitting next to him. Fear clawed at my throat. "Ethan," my voice cracked. What's happening?" He didn't look back. "I'm sorry, Holly," he said quietly. "You weren't supposed to wake up. Those words hurt deeper than any knife. It turned out my perfect husband had a secret life. He owed money from gambling, the kind you can't walk away from. He married me for my savings and my life insurance money. "They'll make it quick," he said, his voice shaking like he hated himself for saying it. "It's cleaner this way." I screamed, begged, and fought until my throat burned. It didn't matter. When they stopped on a dirt road deep in the woods, something wild took over me. The moment the stranger pulled me from the truck, I kicked, twisted, and bit his arm with my teeth. He cursed and let go just enough for me to run. Tree branches tore my skin. My lungs hurt. Behind me, people were shouting. A gunshot cracked the air. I didn't stop, somehow. By a miracle or pure will, I made it to a highway and got a truck driver to stop. It's been 8 months. I live with a new name in a new state. I never go out after dark. Every sound makes my heart jump. People think I'm dead, including Ethan. The police never caught him. And if he finds out I survived, I don't want to think about what happens next. I never thought that the happiest time of my life could turn into the most scary nightmare I've ever had. My name is Emily. Carter and I married the love of my life, Daniel. This past June, we'd been together for almost 4 years before we got married. And if there was one thing I was sure of in life, it was that this man loved me more than anything. I felt the same about him. We didn't have a fancy wedding. Honestly, neither of us cared much for the whole big wedding thing. Instead, we spent most of our money planning the perfect honeymoon. 2 weeks at a private beach house on the coast of North Carolina. It sounded like heaven. When we got there, everything felt like a dream. The house was everything I wished for and more. Huge windows looking out at the ocean. A balcony with soft white curtains flowing in the wind. And the sound of waves crashing against the shore as a constant background noise. For the first 2 days, life was perfect. We relaxed on the beach, laughed until our stomachs hurt, made love with the kind of passion only newlyweds can understand, and ate the freshest seafood I've ever had. I kept thinking to myself, if this is what marriage feels like, I never want this honeymoon to end. But on the 3rd morning, things started to change. Daniel woke up early that day, sitting on the edge of the bed with his phone pressed to his ear. His voice was calm but serious. "Everything okay?" I mumbled, still half asleep. He turned around, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just something came up at work. I might have to get on a call for a bit, work on our honeymoon." I wasn't happy, but I also understood. Daniel was a business consultant, and his job could be hard at times. "How long?" I asked, trying not to sound annoyed. "Maybe an hour or 2, he said. "You should go get brunch at that cafe down the beach. You liked it yesterday, right?" I nodded. The honeymoon had been amazing so far. One work call wasn't the end of the world, so I took a shower, put on a sundress, and walked to the cafe. It was quiet with the soft sound of waves and the occasional seagull cry in the background. I ordered eggs and iced coffee, looking through photos of us on my phone, feeling that warm, in-love glow. That's when it happened. Daniel walked in. "Babe," I blinked, confused. "You're done already." He smiled, that familiar, playful spark in his eyes. "Couldn't stay away from you." He slid into the booth next to me, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Actually, I was thinking something more exciting than brunch." I laughed nervously. "Here," he smirked. "Come with me," before I could answer. He took my hand and led me to the back of the cafe, straight into the single bathroom. My heart raced. half from excitement, half from shock. This was so unlike us, but something about the sudden fun made me feel alive. I won't share every detail, but let's just say it was passionate, wild, and unforgettable. When we stepped out, a waiter gave me a look that made my face burn red. I slapped a $50 bill on the table and said, "Keep the change," before Daniel took me out the door. "I still have a little work to finish," he said, sounding casual. "Go enjoy the beach. I'll meet you later." Strange. Why come all the way to surprise me, only to leave again? But I brushed it off. I was too happy from what had just happened. I walked along the water's edge, toes sinking into wet sand, letting the salty wind blow through my hair. After about an hour, I headed back to the beach house, and that's when my entire world turned upside down. The house was quiet, except for the soft sound of waves and the click of a keyboard. Daniel was inside, hunched over his laptop on the dining table, deep in conversation on a video call. He didn't even look up when I walked in. "Hey, you're back," he said flatly, eyes glued to the screen. My heart stopped. "What are you doing?" I whispered. "Work," he replied casually, still typing. My stomach dropped. "You didn't just come to see me at the cafe." He finally looked at me, eyebrows wrinkled. "What cafe?" I laughed nervously. Very funny. But then, the color left his face. "Emily, what are you talking about?" I stared at him. "Daniel, you were with me at the cafe. In the bathroom." His face turned into something I'd never seen before. Fear. He stood up so fast, the chair fell over. "Stay here," he said sharply, grabbing his phone and running into the bedroom. I heard him yelling, his voice shaking with anger. "How the hell did you find us?" "No, you listen to me." Then silence. He came out a minute later, face pale but calm. "To calm, Emily," he said softly. "Why don't you run to the market and get some vegetables for dinner?" Something was wrong. Very wrong. When I came back 20 minutes later, Daniel was waiting with 2 glasses of wine. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Let's toast," he said, handing me a glass. "I'm not drinking until you tell me what's going on," I shot back, my voice shaking. His jaw got tight. "Emily, please, just trust me." Before I could answer, a muffled sound came from the hallway, like someone struggling. "What was that?" I whispered. Daniel stepped forward quickly. "Nothing. Let's go out. Just you and me right now." The noise came again, louder this time. It was coming from the closet. I shoved past him and pulled the door open. What I saw made my blood run cold. A man tied up on the floor, a bag over his head, his body moving weakly against the ropes. "Oh my God," I screamed. "Daniel, what the hell is this?" He jumped toward me, gripping my arms. "Emily, listen to me. We have to leave now." "No." I pulled free and tore the bag off the man's head. I froze. It was Daniel, the real Daniel. I turned slowly toward the man behind me, the one I had been with all morning, the one who kissed me, touched me, made love to me in that cafe bathroom. He looked exactly like Daniel, except for the wild, crazy look in his eyes. Daniel, the real Daniel, coughed hard, his lips cracked and bleeding. "Emily," his voice was rough. "My brother, my twin. I couldn't even understand the words before the fake one grabbed me from behind, his breath hot against my ear. "You should have come with me," he growled. I couldn't breathe as his arm got tighter around my throat. I kicked and clawed, desperate for air, while Daniel fought helplessly against the ropes. "Let her go," Daniel roared. The man, his brother, dragged me toward the front door, his grip like iron. My vision got blurry. Black spots danced in front of my eyes. Just as I thought I'd pass out, Daniel broke free. I don't know how, but he did. He slammed into his brother, sending us both crashing into the wall. I scrambled back, choking and gasping for breath as the two men fought violently. They were the same size, same height, same strength, same face. It was like watching a nightmare version of my husband fight himself. The fight spilled onto the balcony. Furniture broke. Glass cracked under their feet. Then a sickening crack as a fist hit someone. A scream. And his brother fell over the railing, disappearing into the rocks below. Daniel stood there, chest heaving, blood on his face. I stumbled to him, holding onto his shirt. What just happened?" He held me, shaking. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I didn't know they let him out." "Who? My twin?" he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "He's sick, violent. I thought he was locked up forever. We called the police. They searched the cliffs below. There was no body. 2. This day, I sleep with the lights on. Every sound, every shadow. I wonder if he's out there waiting. And the worst part, sometimes when Daniel touches me in the dark, I feel that same wild, hungry energy from the man in the cafe bathroom. And I wonder, is it really him? I always believed my honeymoon would be the happiest time of my life. Fresh start, a new chapter, something to remember with a smile when I'm old and grey. But if someone had told me I'd spend that time running for my life, covered in blood, praying to make it to morning, I would have laughed in their face. Let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand how everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. My name is Alina Parker, and 3 weeks ago, I married the man I thought I'd spend forever with, Mark. We'd been together 5 years, meeting in the most common way possible. I spilled coffee on him in a campus cafe, and instead of getting mad, he laughed, handed me a napkin, and asked for my number. Mark was everything I thought I wanted. Kind, funny, patient. He worked with computers, made good money, and always said he wanted to take care of me. After my dad died during my senior year, I held on to that feeling of safety. Losing Dad was like losing gravity, and Mark made me feel steady. I wasn't naive. I knew relationships weren't perfect, but we'd made it through long nights, tight budgets, and even a time where I thought he might leave. When he asked me to marry him last Christmas in front of my mum and little sister, I said yes without thinking twice. Our wedding wasn't huge, just close family and a few friends. But the honeymoon that was supposed to be our fairy tale. Mark insisted we spend a lot of money. "You've never been to the ocean, Elena," he said, holding my hands one night while looking through photos on his laptop. "You deserve to wake up to waves and sunshine." He booked us a week at a private beachfront cabin in South Carolina during the off-season so we'd have privacy. And God, it was beautiful. The cabin sat on a quiet stretch of sand with pale wooden floors, big glass windows, and a deck that went around the whole house facing the Atlantic Ocean. At night, the ocean glowed under the moon like liquid silver. No tourists, no loud bars, just us. I thought I'd finally found peace. I was wrong. From the start, there were little things, stuff that didn't feel right. First, the drive to the cabin took us through a lot of empty back roads. We saw old gas stations that nobody used anymore, motels with broken neon signs, and long stretches of nothing. I remember joking, "This looks like the beginning of a scary movie." Mark just smiled. Then when we got there, the property manager, a skinny guy named Russell, seemed weird. He handed over the keys without looking at us, kept glancing toward the trees. When I asked if the area was safe, he gave this weird laugh and said, "Safe enough as long as you lock up at night." I thought he was joking, but his face didn't match his voice. Later that evening, as Mark unpacked, I stepped onto the deck with a glass of wine and noticed footprints in the sand below, barefoot ones, leading from the ocean straight to our cabin steps. The weird part, they weren't ours. We just got there, and no one else was around for miles. "Probably from Russell," Mark said when I pointed it out, "or whoever cleaned the place last." I let it go. Big mistake. The first 2 days were perfect. Lazy mornings in bed, long walks on the shore, seafood dinners Mark cooked himself. I posted photos on Instagram with captions like "living the dream." But the third night, that's when everything changed. We were lying in bed around midnight when I heard it. A soft thud, like someone dropped something heavy on the deck outside. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. Mark paused, listening. "Probably the wind," he mumbled. But the air was still, and I could feel something like being watched. Goosebumps. Covered my arms. I got up and looked through the glass door. Nothing, just black ocean and silver sand. We went back to sleep. The next morning, there were smudges on the glass, oily fingerprints, like someone had pressed their hands against the door, trying to look inside. I told Mark. He frowned, but brushed it off. "It's humidity, you're overthinking," but deep down, I knew someone had been there. 2 days later, everything exploded. It was our 5th night. Mark decided to drive into town 40 minutes away for more wine. "Back in an hour," he said, kissing me on the forehead. I stayed behind, curled up with a book, trying to ignore the worried feeling that had been growing in my gut since we got there. 30 minutes passed, then 40, then an hour. I called his phone. No answer. Another hour. Still nothing. By midnight, I was walking back and forth in the cabin, phone held tight in my hand, heart pounding. That's when I heard it. Footsteps on the deck. Slow, careful. I froze. "Mark," my voice cracked. No answer. The glass door stood in front of me, like a dark mirror. My reflection, and behind it, a shadow. Tall, still, watching. I couldn't breathe. My phone slipped from my hand, hitting the floor with a loud sound. The shadow moved closer, pressing against the glass. Fingers long, pale, spread across the door. I ran straight into the bedroom, slammed the door, locked it. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely dial 911. Double quotes, 911. "What's your emergency?" There's someone outside. "Please, I'm alone." My husband, glass broke. I screamed. The next minutes were chaos. Footsteps pounding through the cabin. The operator yelling for me to stay on the line. Me crawling under the bed like a child. Then silence. I waited, shaking, listening. A door creaked. The kitchen, and then the smell hit me. Sweet, metallic, thick blood. I knew that smell from when my dad hunted deer. But this was stronger, wrong. I crept out, barefoot, heart slamming against my ribs. The house was dark, except for moonlight spilling through broken glass. The smell led me to the kitchen, to a door I hadn't noticed before. The pantry freezer. Something inside was dripping. Plink, plink, plink. My breath came in short gasps as I reached for the handle. My fingers curled around it, pulled, and there he was. Mark, hanging upside down from a meat hook, throat cut, eyes glassy. I don't remember screaming, but my throat burned. I stumbled back, slipping in blood that was pooling across the floor. That's when I saw him. The man from the deck, standing in the doorway, smiling. "Thought you'd like it fresh," he said in a rough voice. Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was in the trunk of a car, hands tied, head pounding. I could hear waves crashing and a voice humming off-key. I don't know how I got out. I don't remember breaking free or running barefoot down that endless stretch of beach. I just know the police found me at dawn, hysterical and covered in blood, near an old pier. They never found him, never found the car or Mark's body. Some nights I wake up and swear I hear that voice humming outside my window. And I wonder if he's still watching, waiting. I never thought my honeymoon would turn into the darkest chapter of my life. If someone had told me that a week after marrying the love of my life, I would be running for survival, barefoot and bleeding, I would have laughed in their face. But that's exactly what happened. Aaron and I met 3 years ago in the most ordinary way. You know, one of those random coffee shop meetings that sounds like something out of a cheesy romance book. He was behind me in line. I was trying to decide whether I wanted a caramel latte or just plain black coffee. He told me, "Go for the caramel. Life's too short for boring choices." That was Aaron. Always smiling, always trying to make life less boring. He wasn't just charming, he was real. The kind of guy who made you feel like the most important person in the world when he looked at you. We dated for 2.5 years, and every moment felt like some kind of dream. When he asked me to marry him last winter under the Christmas lights in the park, I said yes without thinking twice. Our wedding wasn't fancy, just a simple ceremony with close family and friends. But we decided to spend big on the honeymoon. 2 weeks on a secluded island off the coast of North Carolina, a private beachfront villa, endless ocean views. It sounded like paradise. At least that's what we thought. We flew out on a Monday morning. The weather was perfect, the sky was clear, and everything felt right. Aaron kept making jokes about how he was going to gain 10 pounds from all the seafood he planned to eat. 2 weeks of no work, no phones, no stress, he said as we got on the ferry to the island. Just you, me, and the sound of waves. I smiled and rested my head on his shoulder, watching the water sparkle in the sunlight. When we got to the villa, I was amazed. Photos online didn't do it justice. The house was huge, whitewashed walls, wide glass doors opening straight onto the beach, a deck that went around the whole house with a private hot tub. Inside, it was simple but beautiful. Pale wooden floors, cozy furniture, and a massive king-size bed with a view of the ocean. Aaron grabbed me from behind and spun me around. "Mrs. Carter," he whispered, kissing my neck. "We made it. Everything felt perfect." That first day was exactly what we'd hoped for. Walking on the sand, eating fresh fish at a small restaurant on the other side of the island, falling asleep to the sound of waves. If I could freeze any moment of my life, it would have been that day. I had no idea what was coming. The second night started off normal. We cooked dinner together, opened a bottle of wine, and watched a movie on Aaron's laptop. Around midnight, we were curled up in bed when I heard it. A knock on the sliding glass door that faced the ocean. At first, I thought I imagined it. The wind was strong that night, and the waves were crashing loudly. But then I heard it again. 3 sharp knocks. Aaron sat up, frowning. "Was that?" "Yeah," I whispered, my stomach getting tight. We both looked toward the glass doors. The curtains were closed, but the fabric moved slightly as if someone had brushed against it. Aaron got up slowly and slid the curtain open. There was nothing there, just darkness and the faint reflection of the moon on the water. "Probably just the wind," he said, though his voice wasn't as steady as usual. Still, he locked the door and closed the curtains tightly. We laughed it off eventually, but something about the sound of those knocks stuck with me. The next day, Aaron went for an early morning swim while I made coffee. I stepped out onto the deck and froze. There was a man standing far down the beach near the edge of the trees. He wasn't moving, just standing there watching. I called out to Aaron, but by the time he swam back and looked, the man was gone. "Probably another guest," Aaron said, though we both knew the island was supposed to be private, only for villas, all spread far apart. We decided not to let it ruin the day. We rented bikes, explored the island, took pictures, but every so often I felt it. That prickly feeling that someone was watching us. That night, Aaron left his phone on the deck while he went to take a shower. I was looking at mine when his screen lit up with a text. "Unknown number. Do you like the view?" I stared at the message, my heart beating faster. Another text came through seconds later. "Unknown number. She looks even better up close." My stomach dropped. When Aaron came back, I showed him the messages. He tried to laugh it off, said it was probably a wrong number, but his hands were shaking. He blocked the number, but we both knew this wasn't random. Someone was out there watching us. The next day was terrible. Aaron went out to get more groceries from a small shop on the far end of the island. He kissed me before he left, told me to lock the doors, and promised he'd be back in an hour. That was at 11 a.m. By 3 p.m., he still wasn't back. I called his phone over and over. No answer. I tried the shop, but the owner said Aaron never came in. I was walking back and forth in the living room when I heard it again. Knock, knock, knock. This time, it was on the front door. I grabbed a kitchen knife and walked over slowly, my hands shaking. When I peeked through the side window, there was no one there, just a small white envelope on the porch. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It was Aaron tied to a chair. His mouth was covered with tape, eyes wide with terror. What happened over the next 24 hours feels like a blur now. I called the island's emergency number. No answer. I tried 911. No signal. Whoever took Aaron knew what they were doing. And then the messages started again. Unknown number. Run. I didn't even have time to think. The power went out. The entire villa went dark. When I looked out the window, I saw them. 3 men in dark clothing walking toward the house. I didn't wait. I grabbed the knife, ran out the back door, and ran toward the trees. My bare feet got cut on sharp rocks and roots, but I didn't care. They chased me. I could hear their footsteps pounding behind me, their voices shouting. I don't know how long I ran before I saw the small dock on the far side of the island. A single fishing boat was tied there. I didn't think, I just jumped in, untied the rope, and pushed off with everything I had. By the time the boat drifted far enough away, they were standing on the dock, watching me. One of them smiled and raised a hand in a slow wave. I made it back to the mainland the next morning. The Coast Guard found me half unconscious and dehydrated. I told them everything. The villa, the men, The Polaroid, Aaron. They searched the island. They didn't find Aaron. They didn't find the men. They didn't even find the villa. The spot I described. It was just empty shoreline. No house, no deck, no sign that anyone had ever lived there. They said I must have been confused, dehydrated, traumatized. But I know what I saw. I know what happened. It's been 2 years. Aaron is still missing. His family held a memorial for him last summer. Everyone tells me to move on, but I can't. Because sometimes late at night, I still get messages from that same number. The last one came yesterday. Unknown number. You still look even better up close. I never imagined that my wedding day would feel so perfect. Growing up, I wasn't the type of girl who spent hours daydreaming about veils and bouquets. I was practical, maybe even too practical. But then I met Ethan Carter and everything changed. It was a rainy Thursday when I walked into that coffee shop downtown after a terrible day at work. My laptop had crashed. My boss had yelled at me for something that wasn't my fault, and I just wanted caffeine to keep myself from falling apart. Ethan was in line ahead of me, wearing a dark grey coat and this tired, almost boyish smile. When the worker told him they were out of oat milk, he turned to me and said, "You look like someone who makes good decisions. Should I just risk regular milk and ruin my stomach, or go black and hate my life?" I laughed. That one sentence broke my tension like a knife through butter. I told him to go black. He ordered, paid, and before I knew it, we were sitting together, talking like we'd known each other for years. He had this easy charm, calm, attentive, with those pale blue eyes that made it hard to look away. I told him about my love for old movies and road trips. He told me he was in finance, that he liked hiking and hated cilantro. That was 2 years ago. 6 months of dating turned into a year and then a proposal on a quiet evening at the pier where we had our first kiss. No big crowd, no fireworks, just us, a soft ocean breeze, and Ethan on one knee holding a ring that sparkled against the night sky. I said yes without thinking twice. Everyone loved Ethan. My parents adored him. My friends said I hit the jackpot. He was generous, thoughtful, never raised his voice. He planned the entire wedding with me. And when the big day came, it felt like the universe lined up just for us. When I walked down the aisle on my father's arm, Ethan's face crumpled into tears. Not polite tears, real raw emotion. He whispered, "I love you," when he kissed me. And I believed him with every fiber of my being. If someone had told me that less than 48 hours later, I'd be fighting for my life, I would have laughed in their face. "I've got the honeymoon handled," Ethan said, a week before the wedding, leaning casually against the kitchen counter as I looked through resorts on my phone. "Just pack light and trust me." I loved surprises, so I didn't question it. He booked everything: flights, car rental, hotel. All I had to do was show up the morning after our wedding. Still dizzy from champagne and laughter, Ethan drove us to the airport. When I asked where we were going, he just smiled and kissed my forehead. "Patience, Mrs. Carter." I liked how that sounded. Mrs. Carter. It made my heart warm. When we landed in Denver, I squealed, "Colorado, seriously? You always said you wanted to see the Rocky Mountains," he said, slipping an arm around my waist as we walked to get our bags. We rented a sleek black SUV and started driving west. Snow-covered mountains stood in the distance like something out of a painting. I took pictures, humming along to the playlist Ethan had made. For the first 2 hours, it felt like a dream. He held my hand at red lights, joked about buying a cabin in the woods. But then things started to feel off. He stopped answering when I asked where exactly we were staying. When I teased him, "What is it? A treehouse or something?" he just said, "You'll see." His voice was flat in a way that didn't match the warmth from before. By the time we left the highway, the sun was getting low. The GPS signal had cut out 30 minutes earlier, and the road we were on was a lonely 2-lane strip through endless pine trees. "Ethan, are you sure this is the right way?" I asked, glancing at the darkening forest. "Positive," he said, without looking at me. When we finally pulled into a long gravel driveway, I expected a rustic lodge or maybe a cozy cabin. Instead, what stood at the end of the road made my stomach tighten. It was a mansion, huge, isolated, a sprawling modern structure with towering glass windows and a deck that went around the whole house. It looked more like the set of a billionaire thriller than a honeymoon spot. "Wow," I breathed, forcing a smile. "This is fancy." Ethan didn't reply. He turned off the engine, got out, and started taking out the bags without a word. "Ethan," I laughed nervously, "are we allowed to be here?" "It's ours," he said simply. I blinked. "What do you mean it's ours?" He didn't answer. My skin prickled. Inside, the place was perfect. High ceilings, marble floors, walls of glass looking out over acres of dark forest. A man in a black suit appeared from a side hallway. A butler, if you could call him that. "Welcome, Mrs. Carter," he said smoothly, like this was all completely normal. My stomach turned cold. Who are you?" I stammered. "Staff," Ethan said flatly. "This is Thomas. He'll take care of you. Take care of me," I repeated, my voice cracking. "Ethan, what the hell is going on? We never talked about moving here, and the slap came. So fast I didn't see it coming." Pain exploded across my cheek. I stumbled back, holding my face. "Ethan, what the You're my wife," he hissed, his voice low and deadly calm. "You do what I say from now on. You belong to me." The words didn't register at first. This was Ethan, the man who cried at our wedding, the man who promised me forever. But as he grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise and dragged me toward a hallway, reality crashed down like ice water. I married a monster. The room he locked me in looked like a guest bedroom, but the heavy steel bolt on the door told me exactly what it was: a cell. I screamed until my throat burned, pounded on the door until my fists hurt. No one came. Hours passed. My mind spun in frantic circles. My phone was in the car. No one knew where I was. My parents thought I was in Aspen, sipping champagne, not trapped in a stranger's mansion with the man I thought I loved. When the door finally opened, Ethan stepped in. His expression was calm, almost bored, like none of this was crazy. He sat on the edge of the bed. "You'll learn, Claire." His voice was soft, chillingly soft. "This is where you live now, with me, forever." When I whispered, "Please, Ethan, don't do this," he smiled. And then he proved exactly how much control he had. I don't know how long I cried after he left. Long enough for my body to shake with exhaustion. When Thomas brought a tray of food later, I forced a smile. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice barely audible. As soon as he left, I hid the knife under the mattress. If Ethan thought I was weak, he was dead wrong. When Ethan returned hours later, he wasn't alone. Another man followed him in, tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes like ice. Ethan laughed. A sound so alien, it turned my blood cold. Thought we'd have some fun, sweetheart. When they started kissing, my stomach lurched. My jaw locked in horror as clothes hit the floor. When Ethan grabbed me, I didn't think, I reacted. My knee shot up hard. He fell down with a strangled grunt. I pulled a knife from under the mattress and pressed it to his face. Move, and I swear to God, I'll kill you. His friend froze, hands up. I ran. My bare feet slapped against marble. I tore through the hallway, heart hammering until I spotted the rental car keys on a table. Behind me, footsteps thundered. I didn't look back. The night air burned my lungs as I ran to the SUV, fumbling the keys with shaking hands. The engine roared to life just as Thomas appeared in the doorway, shouting. Gravel sprayed as I slammed the gas and flew down the driveway, trees whipping past like shadows trying to grab me. I didn't stop, not when the gates appeared, not when the tires screamed against the road. I drove until my arms ached and my vision got blurry until I saw the glow of a 24-hour gas station and collapsed against the steering wheel. Sobbing, the cops didn't find the mansion. Not the first time, not the second. It was like it disappeared into the trees. Ethan's bank accounts were wiped clean. His phone was disconnected. His friends said they hadn't heard from him. Sometimes late at night, I swear I see a black SUV parked across the street from my apartment. I don't answer the door anymore, and I don't sleep without a knife under my pillow, because Ethan promised me forever, and I believe him.